Newly appointed Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni, recently teased his plans on what he has for Disney Star Wars following the Star Wars Ahsoka series on Disney Plus. Before we get into that, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. Indeed, Dave Filoni has teased his plans for Star Wars. He recently spoke with Empire, saying that it's a possibility that Captain Pellaeon, who was Grand Admiral Thrawn's right-hand man in the original Timothy Zahn novels and was recently reintroduced in The Mandalorian Season 3 after a brief cameo at the end of Star Wars Rebels, will likely reunite with Thrawn. This is what Filoni said. We set up Captain Pellaeon in The Mandalorian, and that's a character that goes with Thrawn. So I'd love to see the two of them together. If you don't remember, in the penultimate episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian, Pellaeon is part of the Shadow Council of Imperial leaders that advises the council to keep a low profile in order to not draw the New Republic's attention to their true strength. He says, if we are perceived as anything other than a group of unorganized remnant warlords, the New Republic will increase their efforts to hunt us down. Not only does he advise the Imperial warlords to keep a low profile, he also cautions that any action the warlords take should not come until Grand Admiral Thrawn returns. He says, the strength should not be wasted. Grand Admiral Thrawn's return will herald in the reemergence of our military and provide Commandant Hux enough time to deliver on Project Necromancer, which I think is an allusion to, an allusion to the return of Darth Sidious in the absolute abomination that they did by bringing him back. Just awful Disney Star Wars storytelling. While Pellaeon offered caution and patience, not everyone in the Shadow Council concurred, showing a potential split among the Imperial warlords, as many of them favored their own personal ambition to enrich themselves in the short term rather than wait on Thrawn for the long term. This divide among the Imperial warlords and the Shadow Council is something that might be explored moving forward as well. Lars Mikkelsen, who plays Thrawn, also told Empire that Thrawn is planning to, quote, straighten out all the others and tidy up the show. He said, I could imagine something in terms of a power play within the Empire. I actually think that might be interesting. I think that's a good concept in these kind of post Imperial era, or I guess they're calling it the New Republic era. That is something that I think would have played well if you had any kind of films following Lucas's movies. Obviously, we know in the Zahn novels that Thrawn kind of is the heir to the Empire. He kind of unites a lot of the Imperial forces and wages war against Luke Skywalker and the New Republic. So I think kind of having him having to unite those Imperial warlords would be interesting, because we do know, obviously, in the first Star Wars film that the uh, Republic was done away with and they were replaced with Imperial warlords that would rule over, and kind of the whole idea with Sidious having those warlords being pitted against each other, and then obviously him wielding the Death Star to keep them in check. So I think that is an actually interesting idea and concept that Lars Mikkelsen is positing there. Unfortunately, I don't think that the current creatives at Disney, Star Wars, at Lucasfilm are able to execute it in any kind of quality fashion. Nevertheless, we did get some more comments from Filoni. He says, as far as who Thrawn and the Imperials might face off against once he's tidied up shop, Filoni shared this. His foil throughout Rebels was Hera. Pitting the two generals against one another is something that I find interesting. I don't find that interesting whatsoever. Hera was outmaneuvered pretty much all throughout Rebels. It was only through Thrawn's own incompetence that he was kind of defeated, and then the luck of Ezra Bridger showing up with a bunch of space whales to like destroy them. So I don't really see this as anything interesting. And then the way that they depicted Thrawn in the Ahsoka show, where he's a complete and utter incompetent, doesn't inspire much hope for him being put up against Hera. And it clearly would just be him being humiliated by the female character, because that is indeed what the Walt Disney Company does throughout all of their IPs. They humiliate the male characters over and over and over again in favor of the female characters. So I don't find that interesting at all. That is quite indeed boring. Seen it, don't need to watch it again. You're just doing it over and over and over again. But we did have some previous comments from Filoni earlier this year where he described Thrawn as the big bad of the New Republic era. He said, definitely in my eyes, when Timothy Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire, Thrawn became this very iconic villain because he was different than anything we'd seen before. He wasn't another helmet-wearing, lightsaber-wielding bad guy, you know? There's a lot of pull to make characters that are like Vader because it is so iconic. But the boldness that Tim had was to make somebody that wasn't like that, that didn't have those abilities, but could fight in a different way. He added in the words Star Wars, the war part of it, him being a admiral, a leader, a military strategist, a Moriarty archetype, someone that will outthink you, out-strategize you. That really resonated. He's a critical player in this time period. We're fortunate to have that character and fortunate to have Lars Mikkelsen playing him, obviously indicating that Thrawn would be a big part of the New Republic era moving forward. We do know that there is supposed to be some kind of theatrical release that they announced at Star Wars Celebration. There's probably going to be an Ahsoka season 2. We'll see. The ratings for the show were not very good. They were actually below Andor. And we had commentary from Andor's creators saying that they were chasing the audience. So not what they were hoping for with Ahsoka. I would wager. Filoni also said he plans to mine Zahn's heir to the Empire. He said there are a lot of factors, especially in playing with a character like novelist Timothy Zahn's Thrawn. I want to make sure that I'm honoring ideas that Tim had, so I want to see what's in his books for the story. He also said in the Bad Batch, there's actually some crossover with the book Heir to the Empire in the military base of Tantus. So there are little things along the way that I've built across different mediums, all in preparation for things that come later. As I said, I don't have any hope in Filoni doing any kind of justice to Thrawn's story. The evidence is in Ahsoka. Thrawn is completely and utterly incompetent. None of his strategies necessarily work. He kind of he makes mistake after mistake after mistake. It only works because the way that they wrote it works. He is able to like get away, I guess, in the end. But the things that he does that he says he's going to do completely backfire. Like he's like, let's isolate Ahsoka. And then he literally attacks her and brings her back to the battlefield. Things like that don't make any sense whatsoever. He has his troopers stand down instead of just sending bombers to just blow them out into oblivion. None of it really makes any sense whatsoever. And I think just shows the poor writing of the show. And if you can't get your big bad right, I don't think you're really going to get anything else right either. So I don't really have any high hopes for the future of Star Wars under Dave Filoni. And these teases don't really excite me. I do like the concept that Lars Mikkelsen actually posits. I do think that is interesting. But again, I don't think that it'll be executed well. And we already have the Star Wars Ahsoka show as evidence of that. But those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.